Hello stitch lovers, my name is Sarah Rakestraw from Golden Hind. I bet you can't wait to see what stitch we've got for you today. So today we're going to do the alternating chain. It's a little jazzy one, it's got two colours in it, it's a really nice stitch for outlining. So here we go. Okay, so we're using a thick thread here and we're using two. So I've actually used the stranded cottons and I've not taken any of the strands out. I've used all of the strands just so that it's really thick and you can clearly see what we're doing. So we've got a nice size of needle. Obviously we needed to have a good size needle so that these two thick threads would go through. So I've got a passing needle here, the one that I use for the passing thread, and we're just going to start our chain stitch about here. So this is the alternating chain stitch that we're doing. Now what I have also done, let me just bring that back to the front, is I've actually put a knot on there so that it stays in one place and they don't detach from each other. So when you go through to the back, that will stay there in place so you can carry on your stitching. So we're just going to come up there through our fabric, okay, and then we're going to go down just fractionally next to it so that when you go down it doesn't pull that through, okay, and we're just going to come up through the fabric. Now this needs to be the distance of our chain stitch, so we're going to do some nice small chains, okay, and then what we want to do is we want to take one of the threads and we want to take it around the needle, okay, like that, and then we're going to pull this and this one will disappear, so you only have the one on the surface, okay. Okay, now what you will need to do is you'll need to give a little bit of a tug to the one that's disappearing through, okay? And that's going to go nicely down through the fabric. So the next stitch that we're going to do is, again, we're going to come down and we're going to go up. And you need to try and make sure that your stitches are about the same distance. So this stitch is the same distance as this stitch, because if this was shorter or longer every time and you went longer and longer, then you'd end up with an unregular chain, and obviously we want to make sure that it's as regular as possible. So we're going to just push that in a little bit more, okay, and then we're going to take the darker thread and we're going to take that around our needle like that, okay, and then we're going to pull that through the fabric. You just need to make sure that you guide that thread down because it will have a tendency to want to tangle, okay, but you see how that one's nicely gone down now. This one's slightly longer than the first one because the first one will always be slightly different. So again, we're just going to go down next to that, try and make sure that our stitches are exactly the same length apart, and we're going to take that thread, the lighter purple, and we're going to take it around the needle like so, okay, and then we're going to pull those threads through the fabric. Now it is a little bit tight because these are thick threads, but it does demonstrate the technique really nicely for you to see. Okay, so that's being pulled down. Now again, this one's just lifted slightly, so if that happens, whereas on the last row the purple just disappeared, you just need to give that a little tug and it will disappear down through the fabric. Okay, so we're going to do that again. So we're going down and we're going up just there, okay. Now what you also need to make sure that you're doing is you're keeping to a nice line. If you go off this side every time and you don't go fractionally down on this side and then you're going into this hole here, then it might end up going off at an angle, okay. So we've got our dark purple one that we're going to come around with now. Now see how I've caught that there because I'm using more than one thread. You just need to make sure that all of those strands go under, otherwise you will get in a mess. So we're just going to pull that through nice and tight. Keep hold of this to make sure that it doesn't get tangled. And then again with that one, it's almost gone down but not quite, so we're just going to take the light purple, give it a slight tug, and then you can't see that. And now we've got these nice chains already, so we're just going to carry on that with a few more stitches. So we're going there, down next to it. So this is what I was saying about if you're following a line there and you always come up in that place but down in that place, and then you go in a straight line with this stitch, then you'll end up going slightly further up every time. Okay, so we want to try and make sure that that doesn't happen. So you need to make sure that you come down slightly. So can you see I've gone down there, but I've actually come up slightly further down. So we'll go through there, and we need to take that lighter colour around our needle and then pull them down through the fabric. Okay, and then again, just be careful with that thread. And again, this one is sticking up, so you need to just take that purple thread and pull it down. Now here I've left that slightly more loose. Can you see that? That's slightly more loose. These ones I've done quite tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do those next few a little bit looser, and then you can see the difference, because that's another effect that you can create. You could also do your stitch there slightly further away, but remember that when you're coming up with that next stitch, that it's slightly further down and you're at a slight angle. You can see that with this needle now. Okay, so we're going to put that one through, and we're going to take that around, but I'm not going to pull it really tight this time. Okay, so we're going to pull the needle through the fabric like that, guide it down, and then I'm going to leave it a little bit softer this time, so not quite as tight. Now we do again need to pull that purple down, so the lighter purple, I'm just going to give that a little tug so it disappears into the fabric, and we'll do one more stitch and you can see that difference. So again, I'm just going to go slightly further apart because it makes for a much wider chain stitch. Again, you can see the angle of that needle there, and then we're going to take this thread around the end of our needle. Okay, so that goes around there like that, and then we just need to pull that through the fabric, guide it through. It will tend to go more twisted. You can see this is getting more and more twisted. So to get rid of that twist, you could just unravel it at the other end, or you could take your thread out of your needle, then unravel it and carry on. Obviously it depends on how far you're going with this chain stitch. If it's a short one, then you may not need to do that, and if it's a long one, then that would be a great recommendation. So there, you can always, if you want to, you can always pull that up a little bit more so that you're pulling that back to make it wider. So you can see that's getting much wider there. I'm just going to give it a slight little tug, and then you can finish that by just going over the end like that. And then that finishes off your chain stitch. Okay, and that's our nice little row, and you can see these ones are really nice and tight, so much tighter, and these are much slacker. So it depends on what effect you want to get with your chain stitch, and that depends on what your embroidery is and what you're actually doing on your embroidery. Thanks for watching. Give that stitch a go. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. If you need any materials, just visit our shop.